What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Sansom Sports Media Podcast. We're your hosts, Hunter and Michael. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm all right. Weather's warming up here, so we're getting happy here up here.
Starting to feel like spring. We had like a foot and a half of snow on the ground last week. It's finally melting away. I'm ready for the warmer weather. I'm not ready to get to the end of the basketball season though, but it's rapidly approaching.
Yeah.
College baseball starts this weekend. College softball started last weekend. It is just pure chaos that the season's gone by this quickly. But here we are. With that, huge news today out of Chapel Hill. Caleb Wilson broke his hand playing Miami on Tuesday night in Coral Gables. Found out today that he actually did break it. He's going to be out. Does not know if he has to have surgery. Doesn't have a timeline for return. But what are the impacts to Caleb Wilson, or not to Caleb Wilson, but to North Carolina as a result of Caleb Wilson being out?
I mean, this is the team that struggles mightily defensively. So they need all the offensive firepower they can have. So it definitely hurts their ceiling as far as how far they can get.
Yeah.
Now, I would not be surprised if come tournament time, they try to at least leave a window of possibility of he may come back.
Yeah. I think absolutely. I mean, we saw Kansas do it with, I don't even remember who it was at this point, but we've seen Kansas do it a couple times. We've seen high-level teams do it. And then you look at teams who didn't do it. North Carolina last year is the first one that jumps to mind. And you see just why teams aren't going to rule out a player for the entirety of the season unless it's like truly done. So that being said, he is not going to get the North Carolina treatment. This is a much different situation because this team is just too good to leave out of the tournament based off of the roster changing towards the end.
You're talking about West Virginia?
No, I'm talking about North Carolina now.
Yeah.
West Virginia should not have been left out
Right.
like they were last year. North Carolina's situation this year is much different.
Yes.
UNC, by all accounts, is a lock by most people's standards. I am not changing. Again, once you're locked, you're locked. But this might hurt them 2-3 seed lines, and not directly because he's out, but because they're going to lose games they probably wouldn't have. You look at that stretch, they get Pittsburgh next, kind of a get-right game on Saturday, but then they're at NC State, at Syracuse, home versus Louisville, home versus Virginia Tech, home versus Clemson, and then at Duke to close the year. I mean, that is brutal of a schedule.
By ACC standards, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could be the Big 12 and play in Houston, BYU, and Texas Tech every night. But this is going to be tough, and it's not going to be something they're going to be able to do easily. But there's enough here. I think they can look good enough to still get in the tournament, maybe be a 6-9 type of seed line type of team, but they should be in pretty easily.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the committee, when they do their mid-February reveal, which I think is not this weekend but next weekend.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what they do between then and now.
Yeah.
What if they'll be in the top 16, if they'll be discussed for it. So,
What?
Between now and the top 16 reveal, so they play Pitt next.
Yep.
And then they're gonna play. Well, they get NC State on Tuesday,
and that I don't know that that'll be considered when the committee does their reveal because I don't know. I think they do it a little bit earlier in the week, so I don't know if they'll have already picked it by then or how that'll look. So that is something to keep in mind. But beat Pittsburgh handedly at home, and they're probably still showing up in the top 15, I would imagine.
I would think so too.
If they don't, I would expect them to be one of the teams that they list is considered kind of in that 5 range.
I think NC State is a good enough opponent where if they lose, they might not get they might have won if they had them because we're not going to know that.
Yeah. But I think what you'll see is I do not believe that we'll get a definitive timeline. And if we get anything, it'll be we're going to reevaluate him in 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I highly doubt that you're going to see, he's not playing the rest of the year unless he's like truly done. But I have a feeling they're going to stretch this out if there's any possibility if they can.
Do we know if it's a shooting hand or non-shooting hand?
Give me 1 second. Let me look.
That may mean something somewhat.
Absolutely. I think it means that how his quality will be when he comes back.
Yeah.
Pulling up Tipton. Joe Tipton broke the news. I'm going to pull up his real quick to look at it. Fractured his left hand, so he is a right-handed player. So that helps some. For a guy as physical and like Wilson is, I don't think it matters as much as it would, like, let's say, a Braden Smith or somebody like that. But I do think it absolutely will play in.
Yeah.
That being said, today we wanted to talk about some top teams in the country.
Yes.
So let's just start with the 1 seeds. I'm going to put up a couple of different graphics here. This first one is going to be our top tier teams. And flip it over here. I have 5 you'll see here listed. Obviously, we only have 4 1 seeds, so one of these teams will flip down. But this is probably your top 5 seeds. In whatever order you want to put them in, these are the top 5.
I think after Illinois lost, what was it, the back-to-back games against Wisconsin and was it Michigan State? I agree that they're a little behind Houston now.
Agreed. They'll show up in the 2 and 3 seed graphic here in a second, but Houston is definitely that number 5 team in the country right now, and I really think that there's a case for them to be over UConn. And it wasn't like this a couple weeks ago. You do need to dive into the resume a little bit more than what is on that screen, though.
Yeah.
As always, before disclaimer, this is from bracketologist.com. I'm screenshotting their site using that. It's a great resource. Make sure you check it out. But UConn has, as I pull them up, 4 Quadrant 1A wins to Houston's 2. That is a significant difference, and one that keeps UConn up on that 1 line and bumps Houston down to that 5 overall for me. Both have 2 losses. Both are Q1 losses. Predictive metrics do favor Houston a little bit.
And think of how good the UConn wins over, was it Florida and Kansas look now?
Yeah. Florida, Kansas, I mean, they've got the Illinois win. All 3 of those just look absolutely elite wins. And that's helping keep them up there for sure.
I mean, we're talking about 3 wins over teams like on the overall top 10 of the seed list.
Yep.
So.
And I mean, we'll get to Florida in a second, but they have suddenly came out of nowhere and are fighting for one of those top 10 spots.
Kansas, really.
Kansas as well, yeah. You could say it for both teams. Florida's been a little bit longer trajectory, but Kansas has really come on recently.
Yep.
Even without Darren Peterson, which I find fascinating. Wanted to ask, is there any debate in your mind about Michigan or Arizona for that final number 1 spot right now?
No.
I don't think so. I agree, so we're on the same page. Michigan does have 2 more Quadrant 1 and 2 wins right now. They sit at 17-1 compared to a 15-1 for Arizona. But Michigan's loss is Quadrant 2. Arizona's is Quadrant 1. And
not just that, but when you dig in deeper, Gonzaga, I think, is still the best win.
Yeah.
Not that that's bad, but.
Not a bad win at all, but not as good as what Arizona has with some of their wins.
Right.
And then Duke, I feel like they're just kind of defaulted to that 3rd spot right now.
Yeah.
Both resume and predictive metrics average out to 3, 6-2 in Quadrant 1A, but just 14-2 in that Quadrant 1 and 2 record, and then they've got 2 losses. So pretty tight. There's a case that Duke, if they run the table, ends up as 1 or 2 overall, but they're probably going to need Michigan or Arizona to come back to them a little bit.
The problem for Duke is, even though the ACC is better, it's not better than the top of the Big 12 and the top of the Big 10.
Yeah.
So they're not getting these opportunities against the likes of, say, Michigan or Purdue or Illinois or, Kansas or Arizona, Houston, so to speak. They're getting now a potentially depleted North Carolina team. Now they're getting Clemson, who just lost at home to, Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
They get Louisville, who you never know which Louisville you're getting, Virginia, same thing lately. They've struggled in some games that they shouldn't have.
Exactly.
So they're not getting the opportunities to really enhance the Q1 record, especially at the top end of it.
Yeah. And I mean, you can say they're going to win Quad 1 games, but like you said, that Quad 1A category is just so vital here.
I mean, Wake Forest on the road, I think, is still Q1. And
yes, exactly.
Wake Forest is 500.
Exactly.
So
metrics are fun, but not necessarily all-encompassing, if that makes sense. So I think, it's a pretty clear 1 line, I think, right now. Houston is very much so the 5th overall seed. They are not even going to show up on the 2 seed graphic because I think they're just very much so the clear top 2 seed. That being said, let's move over to our 2 seeds. As you can tell, there are more programs here. There's 6. So 3 of these guys have to jump down to that 3 line. So you've got, Iowa. Wow, Iowa State, not Iowa. Apologies.
We'll get to Iowa.
And then we'll get to Iowa in a little bit, but Illinois is up there, Purdue, Michigan State, Nebraska, and Kansas. And just like you were talking about, are there any ACC teams in this 2 and 3 category at all? No, nope. They're all Big Ten and Big Ten and Big 12. Who stands out the most to you right now? I'm going to be honest. This is a mess, and I haven't even dove into it yet. What are your thoughts?
So when it comes to like Iowa State and Michigan State, there's kind of like one kind of like really, really good win kind of holding it up. And then what looks like a good record in quadrant 1. And then you look down and it's not as good as it looks.
Absolutely.
Iowa State now has 2 rather questionable losses, but they also beat Purdue on the road.
Yeah.
So
by like 25. Let's make sure we get that in there. That margin of victory is absurd.
Right. But on the other hand, we just saw them lose that game against, what was it, TCU?
Yep.
And then they got blown out by Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Illinois finally had that 1 game or 2 games that they have every year where they just kind of like lose a game at home they shouldn't.
Yeah. And they did that this week. And the nice thing for them is everybody else lost with them.
Yeah.
So, Illinois is going to fall behind Houston on the 2 line there. But, it's Illinois or Kansas probably for that second 2 seed.
Yeah.
I lean Illinois right now. They've got just a little bit better of a record, and their metrics are just a little bit better, especially on the predictive side. Illinois sits at a 6.7 average to Kansas is 11.7. But in my opinion, your number 6 overall seed's Illinois. 7 is Kansas right now.
And I don't know what to do with Purdue. They almost blew that game against Nebraska, but they did win it. And
that's Nebraska's MO, is just to continue to fight till the end, though. So I'm not shocked they fought back.
They also have the win over Alabama. They got some other nice wins. I think they beat Texas Tech in non-conference. So they've got some pretty good wins of their own.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't hate putting Purdue right behind Illinois there.
I was thinking the exact same thing. So, Purdue being a 2 seed kind of fits at this point. Metrics resume of 7.3, quality predictives of 9. They've got 4 quad 1A wins, which is the most out of the remaining group there. And then 7-3 in quad 1. They do have a quad 2 loss, but no, they do not. Sorry.
When you get beyond Illinois and Kansas, who I think Kansas is still kind of behind Purdue here.
Yeah.
When you look at Iowa State, Purdue, Michigan State, Nebraska, Purdue has easily played the best schedule of them.
Agreed.
And,
that has to matter.
When you're talking about records that are almost identical, I think you have to give the 20-4 against the 12th ranked strength of schedule a nod over the team that's 21-3 against the 60th best.
Yeah, it matters. And that's the nuance that the committee plays in that I don't feel like people understand. It's not simply, here's the quadrants, we're just going to do it.
Right.
When you get these close, like this close, I'm looking at every team. I might pick out a common opponent or 2. So for Purdue and Illinois and Iowa State, they both beat Purdue. Looking at the result, looking at how it was done, that matters if they're that close. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, right now, it doesn't come into play, but it can. Using Iowa State and Purdue here. Iowa State, 10 resume metric, 7.3 predictive metric. Purdue, 7.3 resume, 9 on the predictives. It's very close.
Mm-hmm.
And, Iowa State has just 5 quadrant 1 wins to Purdue's 7. But then Iowa State's 13-3 in quadrants 1 and 2, whereas Purdue's 9-4. There are pros and cons to every single one of these resumes.
But the big thing that changes Purdue's strength of schedule to Iowa State's is the bottom ones.
Yep.
Purdue's got 9 wins in quadrant 3, whereas Iowa State has 1, but they have 7 Q4 wins.
So
Purdue only has 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the difference right now. And yeah, it's nitpicky, and yeah, it seems tedious to care about bye games, but that's how good and how close these teams really are getting.
Yeah.
So I think for the 2 line, Houston, Illinois, Kansas, and then Purdue, kind of a consensus.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Kansas is getting up there, but they had such a long way to go, and 7 straight wins in the Big 12 will vault you up pretty quickly.
Yep. I mean, they were a 6 at some points. They were like a 6 seed for me. So to even have them in the 2 seed conversation, I have to double check every time that I'm like running my numbers right and doing that kind of stuff.
And no one likes Kansas Ascension better than West Virginia.
Correct. And we may not get to West Virginia today, but they definitely are going to play a role kind of down the stretch here. Moving to the 3 line. So that leaves Iowa State, Michigan State, Nebraska for 3 seeds.
Yeah.
Iowa State probably.
Iowa State, I think, has to be down on the 3 line at the very least.
I would agree. Let me see here. I'm going to pull it up. I don't remember exactly who I screenshotted. I have Michigan State. I do not have Iowa State on there. So to come back to this, Nebraska, Iowa State, Michigan State, those 3 that are still left on here. What's your order for those 3?
So I would have Illinois at 6, right? And then I would have Purdue at 7 with, I'm going to say, I'm in between Nebraska and Kansas at 8.
So Nebraska, for me, the predictive metrics are just rough. And just 6 quadrant 1 wins to Kansas is, 6-6, but then the quad 2 discrepancy really gets me.
But they did beat Illinois on the road, too. I mean, they lost to them, too.
Yes. I feel you. There's not a right answer right now.
No, but I would put Kansas on it before I would put – I think Nebraska, Michigan State, Iowa State more fit into as 3 seeds.
I agree. So, I mean, Nebraska, probably that top 3 seed right now. I think we both agree.
Yeah.
And then I'd probably go Michigan State, Iowa State after that.
Mm-hmm.
I like Michigan State. We didn't really talk about a minute ago, but 2-3 in quadrant 1A, 7-3 in quadrant 1, 4-1 in quadrant 2, and then 9-0 outside of that. There's a little bit more from a resume metric side right now for Michigan State than there is Iowa State. But if you want to lean into the predictives, they lean Iowa State over Michigan State for sure. So very close, and there's not a right answer there. And thankfully, if you're bracketing, you don't get punished for having them on the 3 line, but flipped. It won't matter as much.
Yeah.
So very important, or very minute detail, but kind of splitting hairs at this point. Moving to our next graphic here, as you can tell, Michigan State does show up on this one again with the injury riddled North Carolina, and then some other fun teams to discuss here. For Michigan State, I didn't necessarily know where to put them, if I'm being honest. So I tagged them on both just so we could evaluate them alongside both groups. I definitely think they fit in this group a little bit better than that other group.
Mm-hmm.
Gonzaga, Florida, Texas Tech, Virginia, and North Carolina make up your remainder to get you down to the 4 line, and then starting to discuss the 5 seeds at that point. What are your thoughts?
I think that Gonzaga, Alabama win down the road is going to play a big factor in like a tiebreaker between Gonzaga and Bama, who gets like the final kind of like top 16 spot eventually.
It very well could, yes. Especially if Gonzaga drops another game in the regular season.
The only way Gonzaga is staying on this 3 line is if they win out and win the WCC tournament.
Agreed. And I don't think they're staying on the 3 line. I think they would have to jump back up to the 3 line personally.
Yeah, I agree.
Michigan State we already talked about. Nebraska we already talked about. Iowa State being on that 3 line, I agree with. I think of these resumes that are on the screen, I'm picking Florida's out of all of them to move up because one of these teams will be a 3 and the rest will fit into 4s.
This is another team whose strength of schedule really benefits them.
Correct.
The one who does not is Virginia's.
Yep.
And they have been very fortunate in recent games against Notre Dame. Yep. There was another game recently that they were very fortunate to come out of.
Yep.
There's a reason why a 21-3 team that has 4 Q1A wins, their net is only at 18, and their predictives aren't that good either.
Yeah. Boston College on the 31st of January, they beat 73-66.
Yep.
They did dominate Pitt and they beat Syracuse pretty handedly, but then on Tuesday night they squeaked by Florida State, beating them by 3. So absolutely brutal.
They were behind most of that game too.
Yeah, they led. Florida State led for most of the games, for most of the entire game. Looking at, so I think we agree. Florida, Michigan State kind of head up to that 3 line. The other 4 do fall back to the 4 line there. What are your thoughts currently on who should be that top 4 seed? Tech, UNC, Gonzaga, Virginia.
I think Tech should be.
I agree with that. 2 and 5 in Quadrant 1A, 5 and 6 in Q1, and then 4 and 0 in 2, bringing you to 9 and 6 overall in Quadrants 1 and 2. But they are 6 and 0 in Quadrant 3. Like you talked about, that matters, especially when you start splitting hairs with some of these teams.
And don't miss the Duke win on a neutral court.
Yeah. So beating a 1 seed on a neutral court automatically will bump you up a seed line. Almost unequivocally, that bumps you up an entire 4 spots.
And they do not have the issue that some Big 12 teams sometimes have with their non-conference strength schedule. It's 20.
And Texas Tech used to be the team that was the poster child for playing terrible non-conference schedules. So I have given them credit all year on these podcasts, as we both have, for actually scheduling and doing what they should have. So props to Nick Haslett and co for that.
Yep.
Moving ahead, Virginia, North Carolina, Gonzaga. I would probably, as of this moment, have Virginia as that next one. I don't like it. Maybe Gonzaga. Go ahead.
Right.
This is in hindsight after the injury, kind of trying to adjust what the committee will do. And
Carolina's got some really good wins.
Yeah.
Puzzling losses, but, some good wins too. Kansas, Kentucky, Duke.
Yeah.
Virginia. But I did not see them losing to SMU, Stanford, and Cal too.
Exactly. And that's kind of the problem I have with them. 5 losses is a lot, especially they lost to Ohio State as well, didn't they?
No, they beat Ohio State by 1. If Ohio State had beat North Carolina, we'd be having a different conversation about Ohio State.
That is very true. We'll get to Ohio State in a second. That is, I remember that game just being like back and forth at the end.
Yep.
So I can remember exactly who won it. Problem that I have with North Carolina is they've got resume metrics of 19.7, which are fine, but predictive of 29 average is
brutal. They're the only ones in that area that I locked, and the only reason is because of the quality of the wins in there.
Yeah, and that resume is definitely going to get you there, but with Caleb Wilson being out now, they're probably the back end of the 4 line for me, and probably right there with Bama, Vandy, Tennessee, St. John's types of teams on that 5 area where it can get really crowded really quickly.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to go Tech, Gonzaga, Virginia, and then UNC, I think, for mine.
That's fine.
Gonzaga just being a little bit better on metrics for both resume and predictives. Again, Virginia's strength of schedule is going to hurt them down the stretch.
I do not think Gonzaga is going to get through the Santa Clara, St. Mary's area unscathed.
That is a perfect segue into our next segment here, which is some bubble banter. This is ugly. It got much uglier, much more muddy this week. But Santa Clara and St. Mary's are both on here for different reasons. St. Mary's is definitely above this grouping, but I'm calling them out here because I know, Mike, we talked about it several times, both on and off air. What are your thoughts on St. Mary's and what they need to do to be safe in the tournament?
I think it's very hard to see them making it if they don't beat St. Mary's. Santa Clara or Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Because the rest of their schedule just isn't tough enough.
Agreed.
And their best win, it got a little better, Virginia Tech over there, but that is their best win. They've got some decent, mid-major kind of wins, but not much else.
Yep.
So we'll have to see. For the most part, they look like a pretty good team, but
then they don't at the same time.
Yeah. They've had some kind of fortunate, not escapes, but games that were closer than they should have been.
Yeah.
In
absolutely.
the WCC.
Right now, though, I will say their metric profile is much better than a lot of these teams that are on this list.
Yes.
36 resume, 32.7 predictive. 0-3 in quadrant 1 is the biggest holdup in this entire thing right now.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a couple other teams that just have like one quadrant 1 win. But if this was a year where I think that a mid-major team without a quadrant 1 win can get in the tournament, this might be the year to do it. That being said, I am not confident that St. Mary's can do it again without beating Santa Clara or Gonzaga. And they would really like to see Virginia Tech slip back to quadrant 1.
Yeah.
Moving along to Miami, much, much better spot now. They picked up another quadrant 1 win to get them to 3-3 on the year in quadrant 1.
Yep.
Still 0-3 in 1A, but a win over North Carolina is massive for a double team. Resume metrics of 39.3 now, which are great, and then 42.3 for predictive. So everything's kind of leveled out for them a little bit. What are your thoughts? Much safer than when we talked on Monday?
For sure. Now, I mean, looking at the remaining schedule, I think if they just beat Virginia Tech, Florida State, Boston College, they're probably in. And if they win anything else, I mean, the rest is NC State on the road, Virginia, SMU on the road, and Louisville. They're definitely in if they win any of those.
Yeah.
Along with what I just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, they have to win those bottom games, but they could also pick up some steam and end up as like a 7 or an 8 seed.
This sounds obvious, but do not lose at home to Boston College.
If you lose to Boston College, you should be immediately eliminated from the tournament. I've seen people tweet that all year, and I agree.
Yeah.
I think they're in a great spot. Of the teams that we're listing here, they are the safest by and far. I think they're much safer than St. Mary's is. And there might be a couple teams on the 10 line. I mean, I'm looking at Wisconsin and Georgia, UCLA, who Miami's probably safer than those teams at this moment.
I can tell you that Miami NC State game that's coming up on Saturday, if Miami beats NC State, those two teams are going to flip-flop categories.
Yeah. I think NC State's a little safer than you're given credit for, but I can see why you'd want them kind of moving back. Wait, are you talking about good shape and near lock?
Yes. No. I haven't moved Miami up to good. I put them up, I think, to good shape.
Okay.
Let me see what I actually did with them because there's been a lot of movement there lately.
Yeah.
You know what? Miami and NC State are both in the same category. They're both in good shape.
I was going to say, I feel like both of them should be good shape right now.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were saying NC State was like closer to near lock, but
no.
I think both stay good shape unless it's a lopsided result on Saturday. They should probably both stay in that area.
Maybe, yeah.
But we'll see. It kind of depends on some of these other bubble results. I mean, looking at some of the bubble games that we had, Seton Hall beat Providence.
Barely.
Yeah, but they won. That's all that matters. You had Cal that lost to Syracuse in double overtime in a weird, wacky game.
Yeah.
So that really hurt them, and that's why they're not even on this page right now. Virginia Tech, as we mentioned earlier, did beat Clemson. You had Ohio State beat USC, which is a crucial game. Miami of Florida beating North Carolina. Of teams that didn't even play this week, Texas kind of got hurt. I mean, resume metric of 52.3 has never been safe. Predictive of 37.3 is nice, but yeah, there's a good resume. There's 4 quad 1 wins and all of that, but this is not a safe Longhorn team despite the 4 quad 1 wins. What are your thoughts?
The problem is, can this team find a way to get to 18 wins before the conference tournament?
Yeah.
They're
14-9. Right? Yeah.
I'm not sure that 17 is going to get there.
So for Texas, they've got Missouri on the road on Saturday, LSU at home, Georgia on the road, Florida at home, Texas A&M on the road, Arkansas on the road, and then Oklahoma to finish it off. I see 2 wins there pretty clearly.
Right.
And then 5 games that are either you're going to be underdogs or favored or just outright like toss-ups at this point. Maybe they can pick off Mizzou and Columbia, but Mizzou's playing well right now.
So, yeah, I just don't think beating LSU, Oklahoma.
I don't think it's enough.
Well, just doing that definitely isn't enough. And I don't know that, say, it went over Missouri, Georgia, A&M moves the needle that much.
I think that they've got to get to 4-3. So that would be 2 wins against those teams to get there. Assuming they lose at Arkansas and assuming they lose to Florida.
Right.
You've got to win 4-1 in those
4 out of the other 5.
Yeah. And again, as we've said for weeks, it is not going to matter what you do in the conference.
Yeah, I'm not going down that road.
I've started getting the question every night. The past 3 nights, I've gotten the question: how many wins do we need in the conference tournament to feel good? Nope, not doing it.
Win it.
Win the whole thing if you want that.
Yeah.
This is a team that is desperate to find a little bit of extra wiggle room, and I don't know if they're going to get it. And this week, with teams like Ohio State, TCU, Virginia Tech winning, it's really putting pressure on Texas, who, by the way, did not play this week.
Yeah.
Which is brutal.
Right.
Moving along here to Virginia Tech, 56.7 predictive average, 41.7 resume average is really solid. 1-7 in Q1A, 3-7 in Q1, 4-1 in 2, 7-8 overall in Q1 and 2, and then 10-0 outside of there.
Still got a ways to go.
Exactly. Pretty clean resume. Much better now that there's not a Q3 loss on there. But
for now,
that could change, probably will change. So we'll have to see what happens. But they close with Florida State at home, Miami, Florida on the road on Tuesday. That's massive matchup. Wake Forest at home, North Carolina on the road, Boston College, and then Virginia. So just the 6 games remaining. 3 of those are teams that aren't even on the tournament radar. 1 is Miami, and then you've got North Carolina and Virginia.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 4-2 to get in.
Well, they definitely need Florida State, Wake Forest, and Boston College.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a minimum to me. If they beat North Carolina or Virginia on the road, I think they're in.
Very good. I agree.
But if they only just beat Miami, I'm not sure.
That would be, I mean, at that point, you're talking a 4th quadrant 1 win at that time. Especially assuming, because VCU had been their quad 3 loss. Assuming VCU stays Q2 and they keep a pretty clean record outside of there, I have a hard time not putting a team with a 4-8 quad 1 record and a really solid Q2, 3, and 4 record in.
Yeah.
But they really could use a couple blowouts to help those predictives a little.
Yes.
That BPI of 65 is brutal for them.
Yeah, it sure is.
Moving on here, Ohio State beat USC, which is a key game, especially after they took a bad loss to Michigan. And by bad loss, I just mean they got blown out at
margin.
Home. Yeah. They close the season with Virginia on Saturday. Love that they're playing this game. A+ to both Virginia, North Carolina, or Virginia and Ohio State for doing that. You've got Wisconsin at Michigan State, at Iowa, Purdue at home, at Penn State, and then the infamous Indiana game. What are your thoughts?
Just wake me up on when is that day they play Indiana on the last day of the season?
3-7. Yeah, last day of the season.
I mean, if they beat Virginia this weekend, then that'll make a difference. They absolutely have to beat either Virginia or Wisconsin in the next 2 games to have a chance moving forward.
Absolutely.
And then they obviously have to beat Penn State I don't care where the game is.
Yes.
I mean
you got to win one of Michigan State, Iowa, both on the road, Purdue, and then Indiana at home. One of those has to be won, and that is still going to leave them right on the bubble. I don't know that you can afford to lose to Indiana at home.
Yeah, no. Unless they, beat Virginia, Wisconsin, Michigan State, and Iowa, then sure.
Yeah.
But,
I think you got to get 4 wins here.
I agree.
And the bubble, the reason that I'm now, I last week would have said 3, but the bubble's strengthening pretty quickly here. And suddenly it's going to be a little tougher to get in. So I think you're going to need a 4th win.
And that's why I have a hard time seeing Seton Hall getting in there.
Agreed.
I know they won, this week, but there's not much there. Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't even move them up with the win. They're going to move up over Cal to my 5th team out instead of my 4th team out or 6th team out. And they may fall back because TCU and VCU were both behind them. And I think I like both of those resumes better right now.
So
go ahead.
You mentioned Cal. Their remaining schedule the rest of the way is Boston College, Stanford, SMU, Pitt, Georgia Tech, Wake.
Yep.
They might have to win all of them.
I think they do. I would agree. Moving over to see, we'll bring Cal back if they kind of get better. But for now, I think I agree they've got to win out.
I mean, they're going to have to beat Boston College and Stanford just to get back into the picture, and that's a week and a half from now.
Yeah.
By the time we'll know. And other teams might have already picked up bigger wins by then.
Well, they're just going to be so volatile to getting past, and they got a lot of ground to make up.
Seton Hall.
They close with Butler on the road on Sunday.
Yep.
DePaul, Georgetown, Connecticut, Xavier, St. John's. And good news for them, they have Butler, UConn, and Xavier on the road, then 3 games at home as well. DePaul, Georgetown are both winnable. Butler and Xavier are both winnable road games for a bubble team. And then you've got UConn and St. John's. Both of those you probably lose. But you want to make the tournament, go beat a UConn at UConn or St. John's at home. That'll help the resume.
Do you think they can get in if they don't beat UConn and St. John's but win the other 4 games?
Do I think they could? Yes. Do I think they will? No.
Yeah.
That would leave them with – they'd probably get a second quad 1 win because I think Butler is top 75 in the net.
74 right now.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. No, I don't think so because if they beat Butler falls below 70.
They'll just knock them back below. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that a 1-win Seton Hall team in this Big East is getting in. And I don't like saying that, but I just think that's the truth. Resume metric of 53, predictives of 54. Like you're skating a fine line here.
While we're in the Big East, Nova.
Yes.
I mean, there's really nothing wrong with their resume. There's just not much on it, if per se. The Wisconsin win looks a little better today, but that's really about it. I mean 27-3 and then 32-3 for their 2 metrics. Go ahead. Sorry. I know. There's just not a lot into it to me.
Yeah. I agree.
So now my question is this. If they don't beat UConn or St. John's, the other games left are Creighton, Xavier, DePaul. Those are the road games. The home games are Butler and Xavier.
Yep.
What do they need to do in those others? I think they at least have to go 3-3 or 3-2. So
they've got to split Creighton and Xavier.
Yeah.
Both of those are going to be, tough games for a team like this. You could probably throw DePaul in there. They got to go 2-1 in Creighton, Xavier, and DePaul. Yeah. And then you've got to win the 3 home games.
Yeah. Or beat Butler and Xavier.
Butler and Xavier at home. And then you better not lose big to UConn and St. John's. They're probably fine. But if you would go lose by 20 to UConn and then 15 to St. John's, things might get sketchy at that point.
Yeah.
But looking at this resume, again, metric averages in the low 30s. I don't see teams catching them at this point. 3-4 in quadrant 1. They'd be 3-5 in quad 1 at this time. I think they'll be okay.
Yeah. But it's a little more interesting than I think we thought it might be.
It is absolutely a little bit more interesting. Coming back to our bubble team a little bit here. I know we've kind of discussed St. Mary's, but what about Santa Clara?
Santa Clara is kind of in the same boat as St. Mary's, where if they don't beat Gonzaga and St. Mary's, then again,
it gets tough. The good thing for them
thing where they play the early conference tournament.
Yep.
So if they get St. Mary's in the WC semifinals and beat them as a 2-1 tiebreaker,
yes,
maybe.
And I think it's an important distinction to continue to pound that we are not counting the conference tournaments. But that being said, that is absolutely the case. If they were to go, let's say, upset Gonzaga if they're on Gonzaga's side of the bracket and then fall to St. Mary's or something of that nature, that's going to be before the committees even started meeting at that time. They're definitely going to see that on the team sheets.
Well, most likely what's going to happen is St. Mary's and Gonzaga are going to be, or St. Mary's and Santa Clara are going to be on the same side of the bracket.
I was assuming so, but I know the WCC gets wacky, so.
Yes. It does.
Definitely going to have to, at some point, you're going to have to beat a St. Mary's or Gonzaga, but they do have the quadrant 1 win right now, which is very big for them. Yep. And that resume just isn't clean enough for me to be comfortable with these guys at all.
Now, of course, the one win that Santa Clara has that's Q1 is St. Mary's at home.
Yes, which is a key distinction, especially until they play again here shortly. So
yeah,
things will change, but resume metrics of 40.7, predictives of 41. That's good enough to get you into the field. This feels like a team like
Santa Clara to keep their St. Mary's win of Q1 is to lose to them.
Big brain thinking.
Yes.
Throw the game.
Don't do that.
Definitely don't do that. Auburn, Texas A&M. I know we wanted to touch on here. Sitting at 40 minutes. Wanted to give you a moment to speak to them. A&M took a brutal loss to Mizzou last night. I don't understand how you don't defend a back cut with 3 seconds left when you know a lob's going to come, or 10 seconds or whatever it was. Like I could see that coming, and I don't coach.
Not
what
good.
Yeah.
That was a game they really needed to have. Their remaining schedule is pretty brutal from what I remember.
Yeah.
And they really don't have a marquee non-conference win.
Yeah.
Their best non-conference win, I guess, is
Florida State. Florida State on a neutral is probably their best win.
Yeah.
Brutal, not good at all. But the SEC is good enough to where you can avoid that and be okay.
Now the road wins over Auburn, Georgia, and Texas may come into play down the line. Yeah. But they're going to need to find another 3 wins or so to get there. Yeah. They get Vandy on Saturday. That's a good one to get.
Yeah.
I think they have to beat Ole Miss at home.
Absolutely have to beat Ole Miss, and then they have to go beat Oklahoma on the road.
Yeah.
And then, so Ole Miss, Oklahoma, and then at LSU on the last day of the season. Those 3 are pretty much wins. And then you've probably got to find a way to get one more win after that. So
we'll know by the end of next weekend, what A&M's trajectory looks like. If they go, 1-2 and the only win is Ole Miss, they're kind of in trouble.
Yeah.
If they go 2-1, I think they're fine.
Staying right about where they are, especially if it's a close game.
I think they're fine.
Yeah.
If they win them all, it's very unlikely that they miss.
Agreed.
Would I call them a lock at that point? No, but
I would almost move them to near lock, where they just need 2 or so more wins at that time. Arkansas, Texas, Kentucky would all be quality losses. Like, it wouldn't hurt you too bad. LSU, it's a road game. Beat either LSU or Texas, and then beat Mississippi and Oklahoma, and you're fine.
Yeah.
3-1, and those are good. And then pick up one more win, and you're probably a lock. So 4 wins to get there. I think they'll be in good shape, and we'll see them in the tournament.
But, man, if they would have just won any of these recent games against Alabama or Missouri, it's a whole different discussion.
Yeah. 4 points between those 2 games. If you add Tennessee's double overtime loss, another point there, or another 5 points there, like, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Final team as we wrap up here. We talked about Auburn a little bit. Huge matchups coming up for the Tigers. They're at Arkansas, and then they're at Mississippi State, which is a must-win. And then they have Kentucky, at Oklahoma, Ole Miss, LSU, and then at Bama to close out the season. So really 4 winnable games, and then 3 kind of toss-up big game type situations here.
See that strength of schedule number 2? That is going to come into play big time.
We just talked about it with Florida earlier, how it's going to help them, and then it's going to hurt Virginia. It's going to keep Auburn in this tournament.
Yes. Now, they've lost 3 in a row, so they need to get, things, turned around here. But I think, Ole Miss, LSU have to be wins.
Yep.
Period. And honestly, between Mississippi State, Kentucky, Oklahoma, you should be able to find 2 wins anyway to get to 18.
Agreed.
So they should be okay, but you'd feel a lot better if they found a way to win at Arkansas on Saturday.
I mean, even if I don't want to say moral victories would be good, but even if they could just be competitive against Arkansas, that's going to be very helpful.
Right.
I think they're fine, and I think 17 wins might get them in. I think 18 probably locks them up.
No question, 18.
Yeah. But they're at 14 right now, so they got to get 3, maybe 4 more wins. I definitely think they can do it. Any other thoughts on the bracket? I know there was a lot of movement this week. Tonight's a good night to listen to your favorite podcast and kind of just go from there. A lot of mid-major action, but wanted to just see if you had any other thoughts.
There's a lot of discussion about the whole Alabama situation with Charles, was it Bediako?
Bediako, yeah.
Yeah. That kind of correlates with Auburn and A&M since they both had close losses to them with him playing. And now, of course, he's not.
Yep.
But first off, the wins are not going to be vacated. That's not going to happen. He was playing when he was technically allowed to play.
Yes.
So
while they broke the rules, they had a court order allowing them to break the rules. That is completely legal. The NCAA has already said they are not going to punish. They're not going to abandon the wins or anything. Now, John Rothstein did break this. I've confirmed it. Had Alabama just looked like absolute garbage when he left, they may have been docked a seed line or 2 for that because of the roster, similar to West Virginia last year or North Carolina potentially this year. But they just, took care of business against Ole Miss on the road, and they're going to be fine. They might drop a spot or 2 compared to where they may have been, but I don't even know if it'll be a seed line type of shift for them.
I don't see why they would be. If they went and lost to Ole Miss, I would get that, but they didn't.
Yeah, they look like a good team still. So I think that's a whole lot about nothing. I've tweeted about it, and when they first tweeted it, I really thought they were going to maybe drop them a seed line or so. Gotten some more clarification on it. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Auburn or A&M or anybody like that's going to get a win back in the committee's eyes.
Right, no.
They're definitely not going to do that. Even if they consider the Bediako stuff, it'll be just on the other side, and that'll be it. So, no, you're not going to gain a win, guys. I'm sorry.
When you lose by a possession to Missouri the same way that they did, I don't know that Alabama not having another player, really comes to say that said they would have beat them.
Agreed. With that, does Miami of Ohio continue their undefeated streak tomorrow night?
Yes.
Cool. Good answer. I will be there at 9 p.m. tomorrow night.
Nice.
First MAC game on ESPN in at least 40 years. I think it might be ever. Going to be a really fun game. The completely sold out whiteout. I'll have coverage for you guys down on the court. But Mike and I will be back sometime this weekend, maybe early next week. We'll see how everything plays out to cover all of Saturday and Sunday's results. But make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.